Welcome to yet another episode of Sports Talk with J&Q. I'm Jay.
I'm Q.
And again, another special guest here. He's, one of the brightest, as they say, Mr. Tyler Brockman, here to discuss the NCAA Tournament. Tyler, first impressions on the bracket.
Well, looking at it, I was a little bit surprised to see three ACC teams as one seeds. I think an argument could be made for Michigan State or even a team like Kentucky or Tennessee to have been a one seed. But all things considered, it looks like a pretty solid field. There's lots of intriguing first round matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing on Thursday and Friday. I
agree. We're loyal members of Racer Nation, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Most Racer fans, I think, wanted Belmont in the tournament. They got that wish, but there was a few that did not want them in, and I saw some discussion on Twitter and stuff. So, just your thoughts on Belmont getting in the tournament, and what does that mean for the league?
Well, I think it's a very monumental day for the OVC. Anytime that you can get two bids into the NCAA tournament, I think it was the first time since 1987, if I'm not mistaken, which that predates all of us here at the table, myself included. And so that's a huge accomplishment for the league. And I think that if you can see Belmont and Murray State make a little run in the tournament, that would be an even greater accomplishment for the OVC this season.
I totally agree. And Quinn, you got something to say?
Yeah, Jay, I heard that you were going to try to make the trip, go watch the Racers play in Connecticut. You want to talk about that?
I will be making the trip up to Hartford. Not like my people at WPSD. They decided to drive for an entire day. We will be flying. We will be taking the weaker route, as some may say. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I think if you look at all the 5-12 matchups, it's arguably the most intriguing. It's got probably the most intriguing first-round matchup of players in the entire tournament. Two of the two leading scorers in the NCAA tournament. And it's going to be a fun weekend, I think, and hopefully we'll be making the trip out to Anaheim, California next weekend. So just really looking forward to the NCAA tournament. It's my favorite time of year. So just to be a part of that, it's going to be unbelievable. Moving forward to our next topic, what favorite in the bracket, Mr. Brockman, a 1 or a 2, you can even throw a 3 in there, gets knocked out the earliest, or maybe not knocked out the earliest, but which has the most upset potential?
Well, for me, and I might be in the minority here, I know there's a few people maybe even in this discussion that are predicting this upset, but I do think that LSU is a little bit vulnerable, but I think even more so than LSU, I think that Purdue, as a 3 seed in the South region, is very vulnerable. Old Dominion is a really solid team from Conference USA, but even more so than that, you've got two really good teams in Villanova and St. Mary's that are waiting in that next matchup if Purdue is able to get past Old Dominion. I also, as a 3-14 sneaky upset, I like the Norse from Northern Kentucky shout out Chris Vogt to give Texas Tech a run for their money. I think Texas Tech, the style that they play with slowing it down, playing a lot of low possession games, very similar to how Virginia plays. Also very similar in terms of being upset prone, because if you face a team that can get hot and you don't play that up-tempo style of basketball, sometimes you run out of possessions. And Northern Kentucky is a really, really solid team out of the Horizon League this year.
I agree. They have the Horizon League Player of the Year, hit a game winner in the semifinals to send them. They wouldn't be here without that. So, great team there. Me personally, I have Yale beating LSU, and I have actually Yale going to the Sweet 16. A
lot of drama around LSU right now with their coach, NCAA violations. And
I agree, and I think that goes into effect. They just didn't look like the same team, even when they were playing Florida in the SEC tournament. So I think that might have a little effect. So that's the real upset that I'm taking. But when I look around the bracket, I just see favorites, and I really don't see many upsets early from the 1s and 2 seeds. I think the one that I really do see for a 2 seed is Michigan getting upset by Nevada or Florida, 2 really solid teams. But for the most part, a lot of favorites.
And the thing I like most about March Madness is it's called March Madness for a reason. You never know what's going to happen. Like, with Virginia losing first round to a 16, you never know. It keeps you on your toes, and that's why I enjoy watching the tournament for the most part.
Yeah, they don't call it March. You already know what's going to happen. That doesn't have as good a ring to it. They call it March Madness, Quinn, and that's a great point.
Yeah, and kind of talking about not knowing what's going to happen. Last year, obviously, Loyola Chicago with an incredible run to the Final Four. Got a little help in some places with some upsets, and this went right. That they got some luck, but you got to have luck to get to the Final Four, and that's what they did. And just looking around at the bracket, Mr. Brockman, who has the potential to be this year's Loyola Chicago?
Well, Jay, if you're looking at just simply high seeds, one team that I really like, and nickname aside, they're a really, really strong team, is UC Irvine, the Anteaters. I do think they have a tough matchup there against Kansas State in the first round, but I like them against Oregon. I like them against Wisconsin, whoever were to come out of that game. Now, granted, you're going to probably be looking at running into Virginia in the Sweet 16, but once you get there, you're going to probably be playing a good team regardless. Also, depending on if some upsets fall right, I could see Belmont making a run. That's an OVC team. They're a really good basketball team. They do a lot of things really well. So those would be 2 double-digit seeds that I like. Also, and let me throw this sneaky pick at you here, and I know that you're probably on this bandwagon if I had to guess, but the Fighting Fletcher McGee's of Wofford.
I love me some Fletcher McGee.
Yeah, Fletcher McGee, he can fill it up, shoots over 10 threes a game, and hits about 5 of them.
And it's not just him. Their whole team lets them fly from beyond the arc. So I think, they could get hot. Obviously, a really tough matchup there in the first round with Seton Hall. I think Seton Hall was a little underseeded, but, the winner of that game, you fight it out on Thursday. I mean, you give it all you got on Thursday, and then your reward playing arguably a top 5 team in the country in Kentucky. So, not much of a reward there, but I think I agree. Fletcher McGee and the Wofford Terriers have a chance to make a run. Another team that I'm kind of keeping my eye on, I think if they had any other draw, I would say they're a potential double-digit team making a run, and that would be St. Mary's playing. I mean, you saw the way they played against Gonzaga.
Play like they played against Gonzaga in the championship game of the West Coast Conference. I think they've got a shot. But again, that's a winnable game there against Villanova. But also, you're not real sure which St. Mary team is going to show up. Is it the one that beat Gonzaga or the one that lost to Western Kentucky? So
exactly.
I think one team that you don't need to sleep on is Houston. Houston, very very winnable game against Georgia State. They win that, play the winner of Iowa State, Ohio State. They're looking to beat UK if UK can make it that far. But one of my brackets, I actually have Houston going to the Final Four. And I'm really impressed with their play, their style of play.
Here's what I'll say about Houston, and this is probably predates you guys, but Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon aren't walking through that door for the Houston Cougars, so just got to be careful there. Don't get me wrong, they've had a really good season, but there's a different level of competition in the American Athletic Conference as opposed to some of these teams that are going to be playing in the NCAA Tournament. So I like Houston. They've had a great season, but I'm not so sure that they're going to be the team that I'm taking to go real far this year.
All right, the popular pick upset
State.
Agreed, but everybody seems to pick the 5-12. So when we're looking at the 4-5-12 games, give me your confidence level 1, 2, 3, 4 of 12 seeds that can potentially upset the 5 seeds. Starting, you can start with your least confident or your most confident.
Guys, I'll be honest. I think that the 5-12 matchups this year are about as even as I've seen them in a while. There are a lot of particulars within those matchups that make a big difference. In terms of most confident, I think that I think that I like Oregon over Wisconsin. Oregon has some really good athletes. Wisconsin not always known for their athleticism, and so sometimes that can sneak up and get you in the NCAA tournament. So that would probably be my most confident. Now that's a 5-12 upset, but Oregon is only a 12 in seed number. They're a Pac-12 team. They should not be a 12 seed.
But the Pac-12 does suck this year.
Pardon your French, but yes, the Pac-12 was very bad this year. I was very surprised to see them get 3 teams in. I don't think Arizona State should have been in the tournament, but here we are with them as an 11 seed in the play-in game. So Oregon would probably be my most confident. And then, to me, I think Liberty and Murray State both have great chances to win those games. I think, obviously, like you mentioned earlier, the matchup between Marcus Howard and John Moran is something that everybody's going to be watching on Thursday. So I like Murray State in that game. Marquette has been struggling lately, so if Murray State can come out early and get ahead, I think that they've got a great shot in that game.